The building frame has progressed to about mid-height, and now the exterior wall of the building is under construction. It's going to be a brick-faced building, and that's done with an infill masonry wall, and we have some video showing that process. Some other elements here to point out. This is a debris net. When debris falls from the construction area, it can travel a great distance, so you really want to intercept it as close to the work area as possible. And these debris nets climb with the building so that they're always adjacent to the construction. This other series of outriggers supports the climbing scaffolding for the bricklaying operation. White enclosures are providing winter protection for the bricklaying activities. With this style of construction, the concrete floors actually extend beyond the brick line, and they serve as lintels to carry the masonry wall. Because they're exposed to view, they need to look good, and it's also important to fill any depressions. This really has to be a watertight area. By having that floor slab project beyond the masonry, it becomes an attractive place for water to enter the construction. Here the first course of masonry block are being installed, and you can see some vertical rods here. It's clear that the vertical rods are inserted in the masonry block and they are not attached to the concrete slab. I don't know what the details called for. Intuitively, I would have expected those vertical rods to be connected to the floor. Apparently they're not. They will serve to reinforce the masonry wall, but it is not physically connected or attached to the floor slab. This area, that first course, has been installed, and here you can see the construction underway. There are two masons back there working on the construction of the wall. Typically when you do brickwork, masonry work, you begin at the corners, and there's actually the most senior experienced bricklayer is called the corner man, because he is responsible for getting the wall plumb, for making the openings accurate, and then the intermediate areas can be filled in with less experienced bricklayers. It almost looks like the length of this wall exactly fits the length of the masonry unit, so that you only have to cut the units in half and you make up the wall without any waste. But going up vertically, there is this odd-shaped block, so that I guess they needed to cut one block in order to fit exactly in between the floors. It goes without saying it's very difficult to install that last block, and you must get that very, very tight, because the water will try to get into the building, especially at the areas where the floor slab projects through it. It's customary to install anchors in the block wall, and they serve to anchor the brick facing. I see no evidence of anybody installing anchors here. And it may be because they begin with this arch shape below, they disturb the regular pattern of joints, and the anchors would not coincide with the joints in the brick. If you want to get things right, you really need to sweat the details. And this hanging scaffold is the work area for the bricklayers. Temperature must have moderated. They're working without that enclosure. There are some vertical grooves that are cast in the columns, and you use brick anchors inside those grooves. So that's properly anchored. Now, how exactly the brick is anchored to the masonry block behind it remains a bit of a mystery. So this is just a little peek at bricklaying activities.